Manolo, your thoughts on now as the events are closing in this chapter of President Cory Aquino's life and contributions to the Philippines?
Well, I think what we saw transpire over the past hour or so was a really remarkable combination of the honors that can be bestowed by the armed forces of the Philippines and our republic on one hand, the prayers and intercessions of the Catholic Church on the other, and if you noticed the entry into and in a totally spontaneous manner of the many thousands who had walked and accompanied and awaited the arrival of Mrs. Aquino's remains here at the Manila Memorial Park. So that at one point you had the guns roaring their salute, the seminarians acting as marshals, the family gathered in bereavement, and the crowd pressing forward, insisting to the very end that they be part of her final resting place. So here the family is giving its last goodbyes. The crypt is being sealed up. The last salutes have been rendered and the soldiers have marched away. And now I suppose the time of healing and resting and recovery for so very many, the volunteers who flocked to assist the Aquino family in their hour of bereavement, the tens, perhaps hundreds of thousands of Filipinos from all walks of life who made it a point to render their final respects to Mrs. Aquino and her family and accompany her to her final resting place beside her husband. It has been a very Filipino and a very historic day filled with symbolism and memories that are now going to be part of every Filipino's inheritance from Mrs. Aquino.
Manolo, the family did not want a state burial for the former president. Would it have been different?
Well, you know, what was unusual here is that, first of all, for many Filipinos, this was the first time we saw a president laid to rest, regardless of the extent of honors. Now, what exactly was given up or in terms of there not having been a state funeral? What we saw over the past few days was generally military honors rendered to Mrs. Aquino. The arrival and departure ceremonies and salutes when she arrived at La Salle, left La Salle, was brought to the cathedral and then taken from the cathedral here. When the remains arrived here, she was rendered a 21-gun salute with artillery and the playing of 12 ruffles and flourishes and the Philippine national anthem. And then her remains were carried onto a caisson, which then marched in a very solemn manner, was conducted in a very solemn manner. And then a final salute. But what was missing were the civilian parts of a state funeral. There was no laying in state in Malacañang Palace. There was no necrological service conducted by high officials in the Congress of the Philippines. There was no participation by the President of the Philippines and the Senate President and the other high officials.
But regardless, the people would have gone out and really followed the funeral procession wherever it may have been.
Well, it's been a long day. Manolo and Ron, we'd like to thank everybody who actually joined us on this special coverage, all the men and women of ABS-CBN News who were out there since early this morning to give us all the updates and the events as they unfolded today. Well, the nation has just laid to rest its icon of democracy, the 11th President of the Republic of the Philippines, Corazon Coanco Aquino. Mrs. Aquino was brought to her final resting place next to her late husband, Ninoy Aquino, at the Manila Memorial Park in Parañaque, amid a shower of yellow confetti and cheers and tears from hundreds of thousands of Filipinos. Before we go, gentlemen, just a final contribution of ANC to this coverage. This was a poem, as we were earlier discussing, that Ninoy Aquino wrote while he was incarcerated in Fort Magsaysay. And the poem goes, I am the burning candle of my life in the dark, with no one to benefit from the light. The candle slowly melts away. Soon its wick will be burned out, and the light is gone. If someone will only gather the melted wax, reshape it, give it a new wick for another fleeting moment, my candle once again will light the dark be of service one more time, and then goodbye. This has been ANC's special coverage of Cory Aquino's funeral. I'm Tony Velasquez. Manolo?
This is Manolo Quezon.
And I'm Ron Cruz.
Thank you, President Cory. Farewell. Godspeed.